Let's talk about Indiana Jones.
So we should start by saying I want to thank the Film Threat audience for releasing me of my obligation to see this movie. There are only 3 Indiana Jones movies: Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones and Last Crusade, and I'm very happy. And my memories of Indiana Jones will grow and will blossom. And so thank you very much for everyone. I appreciate the chat.
Well, there you are. And I want to do a quick test of how big of a fan you all are. Everyone recognizes this. Okay. This is the fertility idol from Raiders of the Lost Ark. What people don't realize, because you saw Indiana Jones kind of running around with it, if you look closely at the very bottom, this idol is a woman parting her butt cheeks and delivering birth to a baby that's coming out of a place in the bottom. It is literally the fertility idol. Everyone recognizes that. But do you recognize this right here? This bottle of whiskey. If you're a fan, you will know. I probably need to put some in my mug at this point. I'll have to put some of this. I need a little. This is a reproduction, a prop replica of the bottle of whiskey that Marion was drinking in the tent with Belloc. It's just I keep it on my shelf, like amongst all my in my little bar area. I keep it there, but no one recognizes it. All right. Let's get into it. I saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny for a second time, and I just felt sad. It was actually worse a second time. Sometimes movies can actually grow on you and get better on second viewing. This movie did not. So upon second viewing of this film, I just was, I started to get really angry. I just started to get angry about it. That look, and not just because of the way that Harrison Ford is portrayed, but the way that Kathleen Kennedy seems to be interested in simply castrating all the male characters from Lucasfilm properties. Let's go through it real quickly. We already know about Luke and Han in the Star Wars sequels. They were very openly diminished, effectively castrated as male characters. If you look at Willow is kind of sidelined, another brunette female protagonist. Star Wars sequels, brunette female protagonist. Now we have Indiana Jones and the castration of the Lost Balls. And you see what Kathleen Kennedy has done. It's another male character created by, really created by Harrison Ford, Steven Spielberg, and George Lucas, effectively, collectively created the character of Indiana Jones. And Harrison Ford's portrayal is just amazing. If you know anything about the making of the first Raiders of the Lost Ark, a lot of it was they didn't have a lot of money to make the movie, oddly enough. And what they did was they improv'd a lot of things. Like Harrison Ford likes to improv or try things out. He did a lot of his own stunts. It's a very physical performance. And when you see what Kathleen Kennedy has done to all of these, it's no surprise that, of course, another female brunette takes center stage and diminishes the male lead. And it's, I think, and you can accuse me of being sexist for thinking it, whatever. I think that you could have cast a different actress in the role of Helena who would have been likable. And she is just objectively unlikable. They tried to make her unlikable in the way that, like, Han Solo's a scoundrel in the first Star Wars film. He's a scoundrel. He's only in it for the money. Then he has a change of heart. And they tried to have this similar path for Helena. It doesn't work. And I would argue that you could have cast someone else who could have made that role better. even like a Jennifer Lawrence. If Jennifer Lawrence was in the role of Helena, Jennifer Lawrence is just more likable. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is insanely unlikable, incredibly unlikable. And I will admit that the first like 20 minutes of the movie I kind of enjoyed because it felt like an AI copy of an Indiana Jones film. Like it was like, oh, they copied like the sort of like, Indiana Jones he's trying to get the artifacts, but he's, having to improv. He's like there are moments of levity and humor mixed with action and surprise. And he's got to kind of improv his way out of whatever mess he's gotten himself into. First 20 minutes is kind of fun. And Mads Mikkelsen is really good as Jürgen Voller. He's just the embodiment of evil. I really liked his portrayal. And I'll say even the most minor roles are very well cast. Like Jürgen Voller has these two heavies, one with a Southern accent, a mustache. The other guy is like, it's just literally a heavy, like a bit. He's just huge in stature. He's got to be like 7 foot tall, broad shoulders. Great. He's like Jaws from the James Bond films. So the casting, so well done. And I'll say it's well directed. It is Phoebe Waller-Bridge and the script that is the weakness of this. And I just, Alan, I think you made the right choice. The chat
made the right choice. Yeah.
The chat made the choice for you that you did not see it. And I'm seeing as I go through social media, people that I know in the space that cover pop culture and movies are actually choosing to not go see the film because they don't want their memory of Indiana Jones ruined. I respect that choice. It looks like it's also going to bomb at the box office. I mean, it was a packed crowd, but the AMC Burbank 16 is always packed. It's one of the biggest movie theaters in America in terms of profitability. And it's become, after the closing of the ArcLight cinemas, it's become the theater that everyone goes to. You can regularly see, not just me there, Christopher Nolan goes there as well. A buddy of mine, Tyler, saw Chris Nolan there with his kids seeing the new Spider-Man, Spider-Verse. So there you are. But back to this. It didn't grow on me as some films do. Upon second viewing, I can slightly change my mind about a film, but it just made it feel worse. I just felt sad. It's not the way I would want to see Indiana Jones go out. There are two worthwhile parts in the movie, so I am going to ruin it. The first 20 minutes feels like an Indiana Jones film, and the very end of the film, there's a brief scene with Marion that is very touching. I just seeing those two actors and Karen Allen there, it was great. It was really great, that final scene. But they really kind of set it up.
Sorry.
Perfect.
No, I'm trying to star something and it shifted on me. And
it's okay, man. It's okay. I appreciate that Alan's doing his job. Doing his job there, along with Ms. Piccoffee behind the scenes. So yeah, bottom line, I'll just say that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny embodies everything that's wrong with modern Hollywood. It is embodied in one film. Everything wrong. The castration and diminishing of male leads, the sort of uplifting a feminist character as a way to replace the male character because she's the bestest ever and good at everything. It's everything wrong with modern cinema embodied in one film. Maybe an overuse of digital effects to the point where things just don't feel real. And it just, I felt sad watching it. It's like, this is how Indiana Jones as a character goes out.
Mm-hmm.
We just saw Picard season 3 where they took these actors that are, all around Harrison Ford's age, and they're themselves. The youngest was LeVar Burton, who's 16. He was how old, Alan?
He's 69.
He's 69 years old. And he was the youngest of that entire cast.
And we got closure with that. It's like finally, after the last horrible Star Trek movie, Next Generation movie, it was just like, that's how we're leaving it. And we have closure with Picard season 3.
Closure. And it was great. I really hope that they don't make any more Star Trek The Next Generation. They're talking, Patrick Stewart's talking, they'll make a movie. Please don't. Terry Matalas did an amazing job with season 3. It's also an anomaly. Everything I'm hearing about Strange New Worlds it's awful. But yeah. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny should be taught in film school as to how not to reinvigorate a franchise. Literally, Kathleen Kennedy has taken every intellectual property, all the IP that Lucasfilm has, and she's destroyed it. And you can't ignore it. And you can call the people making these very valid criticisms sexist, but it ignores the fact that these are not successful. It doesn't look, if she made these and they were huge successes box office wise, which is how people vote. You vote when you go to the box office and you put down money, you're saying whether the studio doesn't care if you dislike the movie. They've already got your money, but you're voting with your pocketbook. And when you vote and you give money to a film, what you're saying is, I want to see more. I like this. I want to see more of this, because that's the only way Hollywood will take it now. Maybe if something's big on opening weekend and it drops, that's also, you've got to read the tea leaves of the box office. And what it looks like is that people are rejecting this film. People are rejecting it. And I also think that part of the reason people are saying that it's not as bad as I thought, do you know why they're saying that? Because they've been told it's bad. They've been told it's bad. So
it's buyer's remorse, basically.
Yeah. Like since, what was it? End of May is when they showed it at Cannes. So they have been told that Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny is bad for, over a month, that when it's finally released, it's not that bad. And so, like, if you've heard that, it's sort of like, oh, this is terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. And then you go to it, it's like, oh, that was actually kind of fun. So it's fine. It's fine. But I think part of the reaction of people is hearing it's bad so often. And then you finally see it and think to yourself, it's not that bad. I'm not saying there aren't some really good moments. The parade chase with Indiana Jones on a horse, pretty entertaining. Indiana Jones in the first 20 minutes of the movie with the Germans, the deep fake. I won't say the deep fake. The deep fake was the best we've seen it. I think it was terrible in Rogue One with Grand Moff Tarkin and Princess Leia.
It looked like CG.
It looked like CG. This doesn't look as bad. I think it's the best deep fake, but I almost would have rather have seen a movie just with Indiana Jones at his height than what we got, which is Harrison Ford in the present. I mean, there's a scene where they're scaling a wall in a cave and he's complaining about like his back and his shoulder and his knees and like, what? You know where that didn't happen? Picard season 3, and they're all old. They're all old. So, I feel like Picard season 3 is taking a legacy, respecting it. It's doing it right. And then, the Lucasfilm's output is everything wrong. And it makes me sad because Kathleen Kennedy clearly has a view of herself. She does a view of what she wants. She wants to replace all of these characters with her. And this castration, you can look, this castration of the male characters is you can't unsee it once you see it. I want to share.
Well, that's exactly why I'm glad I'm not seeing this, because I don't want to have to unsee this movie, and it'll be impossible to do it.
This is from my personal Twitter here. I'm gonna show you this. It's from my personal Twitter. All I said was, which do you prefer? So there you go. New Hollywood or old Hollywood? I'll zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. But there we are. New Hollywood, old Hollywood. Which do you prefer? So my personal Twitter is that Chris Gore. So there you go. I think that about sums it up. This is what they want. They want us to look at Helena, make her the hero. But the thing is, it's not resonating. It's not in the zeitgeist. It's not, people are not responding to it in a positive way. They just objectively are not. So, you can criticize the critique, but ultimately you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it.
So do you want me to get into the Kathleen Kennedy interview?
Yeah, Alan, what happened? There was
okay. So today posted Empire Podcast, Empire Magazine. They did an interview with Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall, and some interesting things came out. It's the interesting thing about this interview is she's very positive about this movie, but if you really dig into what she's saying, you realize that this movie was a mess. Let's just say this: the driving force behind the story and the motivation of Indy 5 was Harrison Ford. He was very enthusiastic about this. He worked with James Mangold in the past. The two of them have a great relationship, and that's how James Mangold got hired to do the job, because of his familiarity with Harrison Ford. And also, James Mangold brought in the writers, so those were his writers. And so the impression you kind of got from the interview was that she was fairly hands off when it came to story and things like that. But this was basically a Harrison Ford, James Mangold production. In fact, Harrison Ford admitted at D23 that he was the one responsible for bringing Phoebe Waller-Bridge into Indy 5 here. The other interesting thing is this was a COVID shoot. And I don't know if you noticed it, but
I didn't notice.
The movie began production before COVID. It went into COVID. They continued filming. They thought that COVID would end. It never ended. And at one point, I think Harrison Ford injured himself, and there was a hiatus. And then they completed filming after COVID was over, or when things got reopened. So there was it went significantly into that first lockdown. And they were even saying that during that first half of the shoot, the entire train sequence that was shot during that time. And so there was a lot of, during COVID, they were on location. And then when they came back from COVID, they were in studios. And what that said to me was, the production was a mess, was an absolute mess. And I don't know if me telling you this kind of resonates with what you saw, but I'm kind of thinking that COVID, if anything, played a negative effect over the entire film as well.
Well, can you bring up the article?
It was a podcast. So
it was a podcast. Okay, sorry. I thought I heard you said an article. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, look, everyone on a tour like that is always going to be positive anyways. Mm-hmm. So it's just, I feel like when I saw the movie last night, I'm like, I'm saying to myself, who is this movie for? Who is it for?
Yeah.
It's not for me, because I love the old Indiana Jones. It's not for the newer, younger audience, because, Indiana Jones for them is a 40-year-old franchise, more than 40-year-old franchise, right? So, is it for a younger audience with the Helena character? Is that who we want to see? Yeah. Ultimately, they missed a huge opportunity by not having Kihei Kwan in this film. Huge. Kihei Kwan returning as Short Round. Oh, you're not short anymore. Well, you are. Trying to do Harrison Ford's voice. I'm trying to do his voice.
Yes, you are trying.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really, it's unfortunate we're doing the Star Wars trial, because if anything, there needs to be a trial regarding Indiana Jones. Who knows? That could be our second trial. I don't know that it would go as long, but it just made me sad seeing it. So what can you say? Hey, let's look at your comments and questions about, look, okay, real quick before we go to that. Bottom line, if you haven't seen the movie and you love Indiana Jones, you might want to avoid it. If you want to see it out of morbid curiosity, I understand. And because it's been built up that it's so bad, and you see it, there are going to be parts that you're going to enjoy that kind of harken back to the old Indiana Jones that we love. But let's go to chat comments and questions.
And for all the movies that we did hear about today, we do know that there are some that have been shelved.
Well, they haven't been shelved. Most things haven't been shelved. Development is a complicated, long-term process. Some people, we're dealing with scheduling, because obviously really talented people are working. So we don't, it's often not a shelving. It's just, is it ready?
Yeah.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
All right, let's go to your chat.
Mansplaining there?
What are you talking about?
It sounded like she was mansplaining how development works in big Hollywood.
Yeah. To a young journalist asking a very legitimate question, like what happened to all these projects that were announced and nothing happened? I'd like to know.
Yeah, that was pretty pathetic.